What about the ones that aren't working? What about the ones that have never worked and never will work? What about having an honest debate about those we've let into this country, many of whom are great people? Fine, we understand that, but too many of whom are not. We've totally misunderstood what a work permit, what a work visa is. It's been a backdoor to full-time settlement. And look, we will do battle with Mayor Khan in the 32 London boroughs that are up for election next May. And I'll answer more directly questions from him when we're time.
A fresh political row has erupted between Nigel Farage and London Mayor Sadiq Khan after Farage vowed to scrap the right of indefinite leave to remain for migrants if given the chance. The proposal, which would affect thousands of Londoners with settled status, has ignited a fierce debate over legality, fairness, and the political future of Britain's largest city. Khan responded swiftly, condemning Farage's comments as both reckless and dangerous. Thousands of Londoners have indefinite leave to remain. They have legal rights and are our friends, neighbors, and colleagues, contributing hugely to our city. Threatening to deport people living and working here legally is unacceptable, the mayor said, framing Farage's pledge as a direct threat to London's social fabric. Farage, never one to back down from a confrontation, countered that indefinite leave had become a backdoor to full-time settlement. He pledged to take the fight into London's 32 boroughs ahead of next May's local elections, promising to confront Khan directly on the issue. The clash signals more than just a policy disagreement. It represents the sharpening of political battle lines ahead of a high-stakes election year. For Khan, defending migrants' rights plays into his image as London's inclusive mayor. For Farage, attacking long-standing immigration policies fits neatly into his broader campaign to portray the political establishment as weak on borders. With both men doubling down, the question now is whether voters in the capital, home to the largest migrant communities in the UK, will see Farage's stance as a defense of national sovereignty or a threat to their neighbors. Either way, the fight promises to be one of the defining storylines of the upcoming election campaign.
Hello, Ben Leo here from GB News. Last week at the press conference in the United Kingdom, President Donald Trump said he told Keir Starmer, our dear Prime Minister, to send in the military to stop the invasion of our southern border from France. 50,000 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel into the UK in just 1 year since Labour took power. Up to 25 million illegal migrants made their way into the United States under the previous administration, and President Trump, literally overnight, has got that down to almost zero. The question begs, why can't we do something similar in the UK?
I'm going to take you guys down through Casa Grande, through on the I-8, which up until last year was one of the main smuggling corridors in the United States. If you came here a year and a half ago, this would literally be from here to probably over here of nothing but freshly disturbed, freshly kicked up gravel, and that would be all human footprints of just the amount of traffic coming through here. But you're talking thousands a month, thousands. These are what we call sneaky feet. So they put these on their shoes, so it really delays the ability to track them by visual tracking. This is normally used to carry. What they'll do is they'll tie the bales of drugs on these. They'll make these themselves, and then they carry that stuff on from the border on up.
So the difference we see here is that now Trump has come in and it's dramatically reduced illegal migration.
Yes.
He says it's down to zero. I guess you can never get to zero. But is it proof, Chris, that it's political will which can solve an illegal migration problem?
It's political will and allowing the authorities that have the right to enforce that will do their job.
Yeah.
What they don't show is the side of these people like we've talked about, where they leave people out here to die of exposure. They leave little kids out here to die. They pack them in trucks. They rape women. They have the rape trees and all that stuff. It's absolutely terrible. You know what I mean?
Rape trees? What are rape trees?
So what you get, you guys never heard of that before?
A rape tree?
Yeah, so what happens is something like 70% of women that are trafficked through the border are sexually assaulted. A rape tree is basically as they're coming up, they'll find a layup spot, and it's usually a smaller mesquite tree or something that isn't maybe like this height here. And once the women are sexually assaulted, bra or panties are taken off them and thrown in a tree, and it's a sign that, hey, like, we own you guys.
Chris, we are literally out here in bandit country. This was the scene of where millions of migrants under Joe Biden would flood into America. I mean, President Trump thinks up to 25 million over 4 years. What's changed now?
We now have an administration that says, hey, go out and do your job. And if you do something wrong, you know, and you violate the law, you use excessive force, which you'll be punished for.
The British Empire used to rule the world. We ruled the seas with the Royal Navy. You know, we conquered lands far and wide, and now we can't stop rubber dinghies coming over from Calais. It just seems so incompetent. But you think at least here it was intentional?
I guarantee it's intentional over in the UK too.
Tell us about some of the interactions you've had here with the illegals you've caught over the years.
We had noticed there was a definite difference between the group that was here of, say, 18 or 20 and this other group of, I think it was 10 or 11. I think it was 11 that we caught. And they were kind of giving us the nod like, hey, we're not with these guys. So we ended up digging into it. Once we got them back to be able to fingerprint them and stuff like that, these 11 were found to be high-ranking members of Al-Qaeda. They were what they would call lieutenants in Al-Qaeda.
We've come down to Nogales in southern Arizona, one of the most southern points of the United States, to speak to locals and see how the crackdown on illegal migration has affected them. So you lived in Utah?
Yeah, I lived in Utah for 22 years. So.
Despite being in the country 22 years, you weren't a citizen, didn't have a right to stay?
Yeah, they don't give you no, even if you try to go through the legal steps, they won't give it to you.
That's really sad. It's like hundreds of people have been deported already.
Because people, like I said, like people are not coming over because it's scary. You know, it's scary. It scares people away.
In the arid desert stretches of Arizona's Pinal County, law enforcement officers remain on the front line of America's migration debate. Speaking to Jeeb News reporter Ben Leo, Lieutenant Chris Lapre of the Pinal County Sheriff's Office attributed falling levels of illegal border crossings to what he described as the Trump administration's political will to empower authorities. It's political will, and allowing the authorities to enforce that will and do their job, Lapre said, reflecting on policies introduced during Donald Trump's presidency. The lieutenant argued that the decisive factor was not new technology or additional manpower, but a political climate that gave officers confidence to enforce immigration law without hesitation. Lapre's remarks tap into a wider Republican narrative that lauds Trump-era measures, ranging from the controversial Remain in Mexico policy to the construction of new border wall sections, as instrumental in deterring crossing. Critics, however, maintain that such policies came at significant humanitarian cost, with migrant families often stranded in precarious conditions. Arizona has long been a flashpoint in the immigration debate, serving both as a corridor for unauthorized crossings and a testing ground for federal enforcement strategies. Lapre's emphasis on political will underscores the view among many local sheriffs that Washington's stance, more than logistical resources, shapes the day-to-day realities on the border.